Welcome back to Calbeckistan, the place where anybody can learn math. I'm your host, Mr. Calbeck. Today's episode is our fourth in our series of solving. Today we're going to be looking at what some teachers call multi-step problems, and these are just more complicated versions of what we just did in the last episode. All right. Some of you are looking at this and it's starting to look a little bit more scary than it was before. And again, if you have been depending on doing these all in your head, this is the point where that's probably going to start to break down because we now have multiple steps going on. You can't just do it in your head very easily. Some of you still can, but again, practice doing this in this method and you'll be able to solve anything your teacher can throw at you. So what we have here is we have a number outside of a parentheses, and this is kind of the new feature today. And I want you to remember, if you don't see a symbol between two things, it means multiplication. There isn't a symbol between the 3 and the parentheses. What that means is that the 3 is multiplying. Again, I'd recommend that you guys put that multiplication symbol in so that you can remember. And all it means when I have a parentheses is that the 3 is going to be multiplying this whole thing. We've got another fancy word to describe this. It's called distribution. And again, the only reason we use distribution instead of multiplication is because we want it to be as confusing as possible so that you not only have to learn math, but another language. Okay? Math is the only one where you have to do both. All that means is that 3 is multiplying times that whole quantity, the whole parentheses together. And when we distribute, typically the way that we do this is we say, all right, the 3, if it's multiplying times the whole thing, that really means it's multiplying times each part of that thing. And you might see your teachers tell you to draw these little rainbows here. And all that means is that the 3 is going to multiply times the x, and the 3 is going to multiply times the 4. You're going to do both of them. Okay? I would recommend that you simplify this equation down first with distribution. It's going to make your life a lot easier if you do that. 3 times x and 3 times, and again, remember the minus and the negative are the same. I'm going to make that a negative 4, so 3 times a negative 4. And what you have here, 3 times x is 3x. Remember, that's a ninja 1 in front of the x. I don't usually write it, but when I write it in, it helps me remember that 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times negative 4, 3 times that is going to be negative 12. Now we have a problem that looks like just like we did last time. Remember, try to save your multiplication and division until the very end if you can. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start with this minus 12 or negative 12. The opposite of subtracting 12 is adding 12. Minus 12 and plus 12, those cancel out. It makes a 0. I don't usually write that down. It leaves me with 3x. Write the equal sign. 3 plus 12 is 15. And now we're back to a simple question. Again, each step is a new problem. Try not to think about it as one big problem. Lots of little problems. 3x and 15, that's the opposite of multiplication is division. Remember right there. 3 divided by 3 is 1. Leaving with 1x. 15 divided by 3 is 5. And we're done. Okay, so when you see parentheses, all it really means is multiplication. That's it. Okay, a couple other ways that this might look. All right, so here's another thing that you might see. You might see a negative on the outside here. Again, remember, all that means is that this isn't subtracting. This is a minus 2. So when I multiply, or distribute, if you like that better, I'm going to be multiplying by a negative 2. So that's going to distribute into the 4x, going to multiply there, and it's going to multiply times a negative 1. So that's going to give me negative 8x. Be careful of those negatives. A negative times a negative is a positive. Now we've got another problem, just like we had before. We're just going to do the opposite, and we're going to do it to both sides because that's what the golden rule says. Plus 2, the opposite is minusing 2. Negative 8x. And again, these cancel out, so I don't have to write anything there. 10 minus 2 is positive 8. Now I have a negative 8x. Remember, That's multiplication. The opposite of multiplying, even if it's a negative, is dividing. So I'm going to divide by -8. Again, it still makes a big 1 divided by -8 over here. I'm left with 1x over here. 8 divided by -8 is -1. There you go. So here's your common mistake part of a lesson for today. Super common mistake is how we deal with this. Now, a lot of you are sitting there like, okay, well, what should I do? Well, let's try to simplify it down. I've got a positive 4 over here. Why don't I just subtract it from both sides? It's a great idea. Okay, remember positives are really just a secret plus sign. So I'm going to subtract because that's the opposite. If you thought to do that, that's fantastic because that's the right move. Here's where the error comes in though. You'll cancel this out. This minus right here is still in the problem. So that comes down right here. 11 minus 4 is 7. So that minus in the front is a super common thing to mess up because it's another ninja 1. Remember I told you ninja 1s, they're stealthy, and if you don't see them, they stab you in the back. This is a secret ninja 1 here. What happens is that -1 will distribute into all of these. If you don't see that, you'll get the whole problem wrong because all of your signs will be the opposite of what they're supposed to be. So this -1 has to distribute into both pieces. Just like in the last problem where we had a -2 that distributed in, this is just a -1. It does the same thing. So make sure you see that ninja 1 right there. Anytime you can, write those ninja 1s in at the beginning of your problem. It'll save you the chance of getting stabbed in the back somewhere. So -1 times 2x, that's -2x. -1 times that is -3 equals 7. Now we're going to just do the opposite like we've done on all the other problems. Opposite, I'm going to save our division multiplication for the end. Opposite of subtraction is addition. I'm going to add 3 to both sides. Those cancel out, leaving me with 2x plus 0. Don't write the 0 down. Bring your equal sign straight down the page. 7 plus 3 is 10. And I divide by -2 to give me my answer. -2 cancels out, makes a 1. 10 divided by -2 is -5. All right, if you forgot your -1 here, you would have had a completely different answer. Really, really important not to miss it. Again, you'll see tons of problems in this. I guarantee you on the test, you will see a problem like this with a negative in front of the parentheses. Don't be one of those that misses it. All right, next time we're going to be taking a look at even more complicated versions of problems, things that might trip you up, and tricks to avoid them.